Hello, my beautiful friend. So, I have a question for you. What happens when your kids have left home, you're tired of Groundhog Day, and you're absolutely desperate to put your own oxygen mask on first? Here's what happens. You reinvent yourself. And I started reinventing myself long before I realized I was doing it. So if you look at 49-year-old Kylie to now 53-year-old Kylie, we are worlds apart and unrecognizable from each other. So in this video, I'm going to share with you how I am reinventing myself, why it's scary. Yes, there is a science to why it's scary, and how you overcome the fear of reinventing yourself. Let's get into it. The first thing I did to start reinventing myself, before I even realized I was doing it, was at the age of 40, I became a naturopath, clinical nutritionist, and herbalist. I did it to reverse my thyroid disease. I spent 4 years studying while juggling our son because my husband was working FIFO at the time. I did it. After 4 years of full-time study, I became all those things. The second thing that happened was that in 2020, we planted the seed to live overseas. Now, 2020, we all know what happened in 2020. We arrived back in Australia from Thailand on the day quarantine was called and borders were shut, much to the fear of everybody in our lives. We weren't watching the news. We knew there was a virus going around. We knew that it was overseas somewhere. That was about it. We were oblivious to what was about to happen and what was going on around the world. Turned out to be an amazing holiday in Thailand. Everywhere we went in Thailand was empty. So we had the best time. About 6 months after that, I was in Perth going to a work conference. And as I usually do when I'm away, I take photos of fancy restaurant food and send them to my husband. And he sends back a photo of his cheese toasties. Don't feel sorry for him. That's his favorite food in the world. He sent back a photo, as usual, of his cheese toastie, but he'd paused the TV in the background to take a photo. The title of the YouTube video he was watching was How to Live in Thailand for $2,500 a month. And so when I got back, the seed was planted that perhaps we could live overseas. The next thing that happened in my reinvention journey was I had weight loss surgery. This was something I never said I would do. If you've watched my other videos, you'll know that because of my thyroid disease, I have never had a huge appetite. My father used to hate paying for me to go to buffets because he said, why should I pay this? She's going to eat one prawn. Funny how the universe works. I had a client, naturopathic client, come to me through thyroid school, wanted me to coach them through their weight loss journey. They wanted to have VSG, as it's called in America, or gastric sleeve here in Australia. And I said, I'm not your person. I've never looked into it. I've never thought about it. And I tend to coach and help people with what I know, with what I have experienced, so I can speak to personally, right? So, and that's a big tip for anyone out there. If you are looking for a naturopath, a doctor, or anything like that for whatever you've got going on, find someone who has the disease. Find someone whose wife has the disease, whatever it is, because they'll have a vested interest in actually getting to the bottom of things with you. So this lady came to me and said, I want you to coach me through VSG. So I sent this lady away and said, you need to find somebody who knows and understands VSG surgery. But she was very insistent that she wanted me to coach her through it. So I said, give me a month or two to research it and see how I feel. I said, no guarantees, but I'll have a look into it. I have to really feel like I can help somebody before I'll take them on as a client. So I went away. I spoke to the few people around me that I knew had had gastric sleeve surgery in varying time frames. So one of them had had it a year ago. One of them had had it 5 years ago. It was just different time frames, and just asked them to share with me their story and how they feel about it. Do they regret it? All that kind of thing. I got all that information. Plus I started doing the research from a clinical perspective and looking up the side effects, all that kind of thing. What I found when I was going through the research was that people with lipedema, I have lipedema as well as thyroid disease, actually had great success with it. That was because lipedema is hormone driven, and of course thyroid disease, hormone issues. Your gut, when they remove half of your stomach, they're removing the hormones that drive things as well. I just had this moment of clarity of like, I have done everything else for my weight, and I knew it was lipedema that was keeping it in play. But I just had this moment of clarity and came out and said to my husband, I'm having weight loss surgery. And he was like, what? He's like, but you don't eat anything. And I'm like, well, what have I got to lose then? Because that was just my theory. So I went back to this lady and said, yep, I'll coach you through it. And not only that, I'm going to have it as well. And she had changed her mind by this point. Universe led, right? She was put in my path simply to get me to research it. So that was the other start of my reinvention. Clearly, it has worked. Around this time, I had been getting tired of dyeing my hair. Okay, anyone with thyroid disease, grey hair from like 30, okay? Really young. I had been dyeing my hair and getting to the point that I was dyeing it every 3 to 4 weeks, which up where I live in the northwest of Australia is really expensive because I was going to somebody who used organic hair color. So I'd been doing that for about 5 years so that I could avoid as many chemicals as I could, because all your chemicals run through your thyroid. I knew that weight loss surgery was going to take a toll on my hair. That's just standard side effects for weight loss surgery. Couple that with thyroid disease, I was thinking, okay, I need to lose anything extra I'm doing with my hair, including dyeing it, even though it was organic. The funny thing is, as soon as I stopped dyeing it, I got massive regrowth. Right? And it's still regrowing to this day. Okay, this was almost 2 years ago. From the day I stopped dyeing it with organic, I started getting regrowth. So any of you that are having issues with your hair growth and you are dyeing your hair, maybe consider stopping that. So now at 53, I am unrecognizable from my 49-year-old self, including 2 new knees, because I had a double knee replacement prior to losing all the weight. I am new in so many ways that I can count. So that was how the reinvention started. Where am I at currently with this reinvention? I have lost 60 kilos and I have had my first skin removal surgery, which is why I'm wearing this top, so I can show you my arms. 60 kilos down. I feel a freedom around my health that I've never felt since the day I got thyroid disease. That reinvention has totally changed my world. I'm almost fully grey now. You can see there is after 2 years, there is a tiny bit of blonde at the bottom. Because what happened, because you can see at the back, this is my normal colour, right? The brown. I pretty much am grey on top, but brown at the back. What I did was, on my last trip to the hairdresser, I got a half head of foils on the top half of my head and had it go blondie, grey, silver colour so that the regrowth wasn't obvious. That's what I did. And then I just continued to grow it out. So you can see I've got like maybe an inch left, which I could probably have cut off now, but I try and avoid the hairdressers where I can because they're extremely expensive up here. And it's really hard to get a good one. But that's okay. It's given me the freedom of I can wait till I'm back in Perth to go to a good hairdresser and just have it cut again. That's where the grey hair's at. Now, the other things that have changed is I added to my qualifications. I became a kinesiologist because very quickly during my journey, I discovered that it wasn't so much about what you should eat, what you should do, what exercise, what supplements, all of those kinds of things. And this is both my thyroid journey and my weight loss journey. It was also about what was going on inside your mind. I studied kinesiology. I do a very woo-woo version of it. Kinesiology can be on a spectrum if you understand, or if you've been to a kinesiologist before. Kinesiologists can start from the end where you're on a bed in front of them being muscle tested, to what I do where I call in the energy. I muscle test on the energies. I did that for me. Again, reinvention's got to be about yourself first, because that's the only form of kinesiology that you can do on yourself. So I started that so that I could, once again, like the naturopathy, I went to college so that I could work on myself, and I became a kinesiologist a kinesiologist so that I could work on myself. And I started giving myself balances every single day. That was the next part of the reinvention, to calm my nervous system and to move forward. And finally, the other thing that's changed after 4 years of talking about it and little hiccups in life along the way, we are finally packing down our stuff. We are finally selling all kinds of things on Marketplace and getting rid of everything. 2 suitcases and a laptop. That's what we're getting down to. And it's scary. So let's get to the why reinvention is scary. And first of all, I'm going to explain to you something that I learned from Joe Dispenza. That's how the neuron pathways work in our brain and why things are scary when they're new. Now, when we do something new, we don't have a neuron pathway in our brain to tell us what that looks like, what that feels like. We have an amygdala, which is our ancient brain. And when we do something new, our amygdala looks for something in its memory banks that it can attach the feeling to so that we can envisage what that's going to feel like. Because everything comes down to feelings, right? Whether you believe it or not, it really does. That's why often change seems so scary, because your amygdala doesn't know what to pin it to, and it will find the worst case scenario to scare you off, right? To make you not want to make that change, because it doesn't know if it's safe for you or not. Our amygdala is our ancient brain, but it's our safety mechanism. It will look at a stick on the ground and tell your head it's a snake so that you move sideways. So if you're wanting to do something new, weight loss surgery, move to a different country, go grey, your amygdala doesn't know what that looks like yet, doesn't know what it feels like. So it'll grab things that will scare you off doing it to keep you safe. We're such interesting people, aren't we, being human? So what was scary about all of these things that I've done so far? Weight loss. Would it work? That's scary. Would it work? Or would it work and then I'll put it back on again? You see that everywhere. That's scary. Judgment from others. That's scary. I have an online business as a naturopath. I knew I would be judged, 6 ways from a Sunday. It's just part of it. My grey hair. Do I look old? Will my husband be fantasizing about brunettes instead of me? The things that go through your mind are insane. It's not that they're not valid, but they are insane, to the point that when I had my hair done with those foils the first time, I figured I wouldn't show up online. I wouldn't show anyone. I would stay at home for a week. And if I really, really hated it, or if my husband really, really hated it, then I could have it re-dyed and nobody would know. Leaving Australia. That is scary. What if we hate it? What if one of us hates it and one of us loves it? What if something happens to our son while we're gone and we're not there for him? Should we hang on to all our stuff instead of selling it? What if we come back and we have to buy it all again? So many scary things around something that's so exciting, which shows you that it doesn't matter what the change is, what the reinvention is, whether it's a good thing or a bad thing. We see it all from a fear perspective. Okay, so let's get to how you reinvent yourself. And from my perspective, there are 3 steps. Number 1, get clear on what you want. Here's the thing, if you don't get clear on what you want without anybody else involved, you'll never know if it's truly your goal. So when I decided I was going to have weight loss surgery, I decided it was the last thing that I hadn't tried for my weight issues. I had nothing to lose because I didn't eat much. Any goal you have in life, in reinvention or any other sector of your life, it's got to be for you. If you do things for your kids and you live your life, based on what your kids are doing, but what happens when they move away? What happens if they get a good opportunity and they move across the world and you've based your whole life around being with them? Are you going to move overseas too? Are you going to move with them too? It's a tough thing to do something based on what you want, or the other way around. My parents loved the idea of coming and living in Thailand or Bali or somewhere like that. I said to them when they announced that they wanted to do that 6 months of the year, I said to them, okay, if Ollie and I are not going to be there, would you still go? And they were like, oh, I don't know. Because what if we get there, say we do this and we all get there, Ollie and I hate it. We decide we're going to move to Vietnam or Bali or somewhere where they would not go. What are they going to do then if they've based their decision on being there because we're there? Never base your decisions on other people, even your husband, your partner, your children. It doesn't matter how unrealistic the outcome or that goal seems if they're not on board. I assumed my whole life when I got married, we had a child, my husband was very house proud, didn't want to travel for years because he would rather spend money on the home. I thought that's it. My traveling dreams were done and this was my life, which I was happy to choose. That was no issue there. But here I am. I put it in place a long time ago that I wanted to be free and I wanted to travel. And here we are. Whether we like it or we don't like it, we're going to do it. And 2, do the inner work. Keep your nervous system calm. If you don't keep your nervous system calm through any reinvention or change process, it ain't going to happen because you will get too scared. You will let the amygdala run your life. You will just go, oh, no, that's just too much. Okay. Better the devil you know. Do the inner work. Whatever floats your boat, whatever modality makes your nervous system feel calm, you need to do it consistently. I did balances on myself and continue to do balances on myself, not every day, but for the first year of my weight loss journey, I did those balances on myself every single day. But it was painful finding the time for myself. And we don't often find time for ourselves. We're the people to come last, the oxygen mask thing, right? So I had to put myself first and make that a priority in my life to keep my nervous system from going into overdrive while I went through this process. So do the inner work. Find the thing that feels good for you. And 3, just do it. Good old Nike, just do it. Just get started. Just dive in. You will have to course correct as you go. You will have to change your plans as you go. You will have to change modalities as to what makes you feel good as you go. You may have to change expectations as you go. 4 years, we thought when we first started planning to move to Thailand, it was going to be 2 years. We're 4 years in now. We've had to course correct as we go. Things will change and you will have to course correct. That's fine. You do so. It doesn't mean to say that it's not going to happen. It just means you have to course correct and you will get there when you're meant to get there. Having a plan B, C, D, E, F never goes astray either. What happens if going overseas? What happens if we have to come back? What happens if one of us doesn't like it? Having those things in place, again, changeable. Everything's changeable. At least then you have a sense of safety about what you're doing, which we have put in place. We have got plans if we need to come back, got plans if we don't like it. We've got plans if we stay there forever. Like we've got all the plans in place from every angle, from happiness angle to family angle to financial angle, the lot. But we're still going ahead with our plan. We're still going ahead with that dream. So they're the 3 ways to reinvent yourself. Make sure the goal is yours and yours alone. Do the inner work and just get onto it. Just get started. So as I continue to simplify my life by eating carnivore, getting rid of all of our stuff and reversing my need for thyroid medication, I will continue to remind myself that I am worth chasing my dreams. I'm not just a mother. I'm not just a wife. I'm not just a daughter, sister, friend, all the things. I'm Kylie and I am worth it no matter my age and no matter the outcome. So, who wants to buy my juicer?